Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Beat the Banks, our free Friday training from Beacon DeFi. I'm your host, Chris, the DeFi professor, and excited to talk to you guys today about, got a couple things to talk about. First thing we'll talk about is prediction markets and also perp DEXs. Before we get started, let me get a second to just let the peoples know that we are live. We are live. Okay, so hopefully everyone's on a great week. Sorry for the dead air. Just wanted to. Things have changed a little bit. There's less streaming places to go, unfortunately. Less options for me to talk about what we talk about here every week. So we're still here on YouTube. We're on Twitch. We're on Twitter, or X rather. We're also on the Arena on Avalanche. Shout out to them. And also to Zora. And that's all that we have now. Because I'm not going to be talking specifically about abstract chain today, so I cannot. Out of fairness, I'm not going to go there. You know what? I will talk about them today. It will be short. Actually, no, we won't. We shall not today. Another day. But shout out to Blaze.stream, Den.show. Haven't heard much from them lately, so not sure how they're doing. But hopefully we get to get back on Den.show soon. Really enjoyed being one of their top creators. Okay. This is Beat the Banks, where we talk about ways for the average everyday person to get in on multiple different passive income strategies. Last week, if you checked us out, we talked about a digital savings account in DeFi. Definitely recommend check that out if you didn't get the chance to check that out. It's a really good one. Really positive feedback so far from people who are trying it out. We would love for you to also get into your first DeFi savings account this weekend. Just copy that so I can post that to a couple different places, and then we'll get started. So I was trying to figure out the best thing to talk about today, and it was literally like 20 minutes before I came online, and I just happened to get a text message from Polymarket. And I was like, you know what? Let's talk about that. I think that'll be quite interesting, actually. So let's talk about Polymarket. There's a lot of people who don't know a whole lot about Polymarket and what's going on with the prediction market. So let's kind of look at that. So again, this is my my personal Twitter account. Please feel free to follow if you'd like, at C Soriano. But the one thing that I talked about, yes, right here. I got this SMS message that said, you're off the Polymarket waitlist. And what does that mean specifically? And this could have been not legit, but it did redirect me to the iOS app in the App Store here on my iPhone. So what used to be here was an American flag. And basically what happened with the American flag is when you clicked on it, it said, we're not currently available to US users, but if you put in your phone number, we'll send you a text message when we are. Today is that day, I suppose. I'm off the wait list. I'm sure there are other people who are on the wait list. And now I can use Polymarket in earnest, which is great. So, for those who are curious, and they're like, well, what's a prediction market? Well, a prediction market is essentially a place where you can place wagers on the outcomes of events. Some people may say, isn't that sports betting? You would be somewhat correct. if you had that viewpoint, because yes, there is a part of it that resembles sports betting. Now, is it sports betting? Well, let's put it this way. Polymarket didn't start out that way. They started out as more of an outcome thing, right? Their claim, so May of 2024, maybe it's August of 2024 is when it really kind of broke open, because Polymarket and its main competitor Kalshi, they specifically were kind of trying to figure out or get the sentiment on the presidential election. Now, both of these platforms have been around in development forever. Polymarket's been around for years, 5 years almost. Yes, it's actually longer than that, 2019. Okay, so yeah, 5 years on the Polygon blockchain, which is a layer 2. And Kalshi's been around. They actually were approved by the SEC to do outcomes-based marketing for outcomes, I guess is the way it was pitched, and it was approved. Now, sports just happens to be one part of this, but they started out both as really as like litmus tests for politics. Ultimately, you see a bunch of these, and you have the ability to buy shares in each of these markets. And as you can see here, Karg Island no longer under Iranian control by April 30th or March 31st. I mean, there's $3 million in volume on this. That doesn't mean that there's actually $3 million in the actual pool, but it looks like, let me see if I can find the actual amount that shows the actual market size. 2.6 in volume. Let's see. There's comments. That's kind of interesting. It makes it more social. Let's see if it tells me here exactly. Well, it doesn't quite tell me exactly, and unless I'm just missing it, what the actual current. Okay, well maybe this comes up to it right here. So now you can buy either a yes vote for an option or a no vote for an option. So there is the opportunity for you to essentially hedge your bet. So you could buy a little bit if you really think that it's going to be not by April 30th. Right? You can buy more of or by April 30th, you can buy the yes vote, or you could buy the no vote for March 31st, because it would invalidate that option, and you would be, you'd probably be in the money. Now, there are terms of use specifically for this. The fact that I got that email and now it's available to U.S. residents is quite interesting, because that means it's open. And most of these other DeFi places may not necessarily be as used. But right now it's a race to how quickly can it get here on the phone. Both Polymarket and Kalshi do have mobile apps. Most people don't know that these things exist, guys, just as a heads up. Everyone I've talked to, they're like, Polymarket, I think I've heard of that. What is that? Or people have no idea that this is actually a thing. The interesting part about prediction markets is that, at least for me, and I've been in this space forever, when you first are trying to learn how to build a smart contract, one of the first examples of coding a smart contract is the election model. Why? Because DAOs and decentralized autonomous organizations and other types of governance are very prevalent in this space. So voting for options, that type of election type process, very relatable in this space. So applying this same logic to events and outcomes really was a natural lateral move, in my personal opinion. And frankly, surprised that it just didn't get bigger sooner. Now, Polymarket had some issues in the beginning because they were on Polygon. How do you get people to actually sign up and create an account to vote on essentially the rails on a layer 2? They fixed that now, right? So you can bridge in from anywhere, but it is still based on Polygon, which is amazing, in my personal opinion, and has helped Polygon obviously stay quite relevant in terms of that. But with that said, Polymarket is worth billions of dollars now. Just in the last 18 months, they've gotten partnerships with the New York Stock Exchange, or rather the Intercontinental Exchange, ICE, which is not that ICE, the mother company of the New York Stock Exchange. We have Google for Polymarket, and multiple other big name groups have put money into Polymarket. Millions, billions in some cases. I want to say ICE owns about 10% of Polymarket now based on the amount that they've raised. Kalshi just raised another $1 billion. I just saw this on the news yesterday. They're now worth $22 billion. And Kalshi, which was another option during the US presidential election, has, I think they're the official partner of NHL, so hockey games. So they will be, they can, during the game, actually put up, or they'll be putting up polls where people can vote in real time on who they think is going to win. And yes, in that case, that is more like sports betting. But I mean, DraftKings and other, I don't know my sports betting platforms. I apologize. Don't really do that. It's an interesting way to look at the options. What's crazy about this is that both Polymarket and Kalshi and the other prediction markets to talk about also have blockchain rails. This is important because, at least from the Kalshi standpoint, they're still working on the Polymarket standpoint. Depending on the outcome in the event, they are now tokenized instantly, so that you can actually build DeFi strategies with these outcomes as composable DeFi assets, something that we call like money Legos and stuff like that. So that's actually really cool, really exciting. So really curious to see exactly where this goes from here. But I think it's excellent. I think it's really exciting to see how people are very interested specifically in prediction markets, because they'll see this and they'll think it's kind of like sports betting. They won't say that it's crypto, which is the part that's probably the most important with regards to adoption of this. And I wouldn't say it's crypto either at all. It's blockchain rails with regards to how money is settled, how you fund your prediction wallet, things like that. So there's all of that, which is part of this newer infrastructure that traditional finance and other Web 2 companies are trying to break into. Now, are Polymarket and Kalshi the only prediction markets that are out there? Known to the public, that are easy to get to thanks to their marketing? Probably, yeah. But there are others that are out there. I'll mention Limitless on a. That's not Limitless. Let me go and find that correct. That is the incorrect. That is Full Stack Software. I apologize to Limitless.xyz. I also apologize to Limitless, the actual. Well, let's go look for it. Let's do the right thing. Let's go here and let's. Limitless.exchange. My bad. My fault on that, guys. And Limitless is based on the Base blockchain. So this is off Coinbase's layer 2. Coinbase, I believe, has a partnership with Polymarket, if I'm not mistaken. So there is that. Opinion.trade is another one. I am not in Ontario, California. Or I'm not in Ontario, Canada. Sorry. For a lot of these, you may need to be taking a VPN vacation, if you know what I'm saying, because of the rules. But this is DeFi. This is a world, if you do it on a blockchain like with Opinion, with Limitless, you're doing it specifically in an area where there's no jurisdiction, because no country owns DeFi. So if you're looking for a spot to do it in a more decentralized way, these would be the places you would go. You would go to Limitless, you would go to Opinion. Jupiter has a partnership with Polymarket, which is interesting because Kalshi has a very big partnership with Solana. So not sure how all that voodoo happened, but Jupiter with the smart play and also bringing this access. Plus they can tokenize all of it, which is fantastic. Now Hyperliquid is with HIP4, HIP4, the Hyperliquid Improvement Protocol. They're coming out. It's in testnet right now specifically for prediction markets. So the fact once that actually comes out, that's going to be cool, because that'll bleed into our other part of today's talk, which are Perp DEXs. Having both is going to be huge, And I know there are other groups looking to do the same. So I think this will kind of be a very interesting meta move, at least in the DeFi space, having multiple protocols, having both perps as well as prediction markets available for users, I think is going to be key. In fact, I think that the majority of ecosystems are going to need both. If you're going to get traction, you're going to need both regular liquidity plays, staking, perp DEXs, and prediction markets to do your thing. Now, I will actually shout out Myriad, which is the reason why I could have talked a tiny amount about Abstract, because they have recently left the ecosystem at Abstract to come over to well, you can still use your AGW, so that's cool, but they are now on the BNB blockchain. They're migrating over there. They might not be completely ready, but it's there. It's on the way. And they were on the Abstract blockchain, which is Pudgy Penguins, Igloo Inc. Their consumer-facing consumer DeFi protocol blockchain ecosystem. Now they're not going to have as many markets as Kalshi and Polymarket, but ultimately the majority of these prediction markets are going to have the same type of markets that you can actually have predictions on. Let's see. So we have, this is Polymarket, so that's different. But yeah, so we've got different things here, right? We have crypto. They have, I believe this is the soccer version of football. Oil and gas. Finance. Oh, they must be Asian, because they have a Korean and a, I'm guessing this is Chinese. Yes. Interesting. In Hangul. And if you gave me about 2 minutes, I could actually read all this, because I remember my Korean alphabet. I just don't remember all of the context. Interesting. Well, I'm curious. How big is this market? All right, there's nobody in here. That is, well, it is what it is. Ends on March 28th. So if you want to support BTS and their Our Wrong album, to try and figure out if you can figure out that there's literally nothing here. Oh, well, is there one here on Polymarket? We can search. There's so many markets, right? Oh, there we go. We've got 286,000 in volume with, oh wow, a lot of people are believing that it's less than 96%. So this is the part that's interesting about prediction markets. Why Yahoo put in tons of money into, I think it's Kalshi. CNN is with Kalshi. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yahoo's with Polymarket. CNN is with Kalshi. Google's with both. Billions of dollars thrown at both of them. Because there is an idea here. At least let's go back to the finance piece for Yahoo. Based on trades, based on market predictions here, based on sentiment, there is, well, could we call it a layer of truth, a layer of factual backing for outcomes and events based on what we're seeing here? I think the answer here is yes. And to me, I think that is like surreal, because frankly, there's a lot of what we call washing being done here, right? Markets like this can be manipulated. There are inefficiencies that can be exploited, and it's something that we have an offer coming specifically for that here at Beacon that we're building. So to me, it's a really interesting thought that you can actually find factual data off of this. Okay. The reason for that being, one of the best ways to make money on Polymarket are some of these what we call quieter markets. And what defines a quieter market? Well, first off, you don't have millions of dollars in volume, but there are people who are making money voting on the high temperature of Toronto tomorrow. Now, before you sit here and kind of question, why is this a thing? The people who are making money will tell you this is a fantastic way, because this is backed by actual data, right? This is not just people out of thin air just guessing what it is. No, these markets are created. Who made this market, by the way? Looks like Polymarket made the market. There's 140 comments. There. Oh my goodness, look at all these people in here. And it's based off of the temperature recorded at Pearson International Airport in Toronto in Celsius. And the resolution source will be from Wonderground, I guess as long as it grabs a high temperature. So there will be a settlement here, right? And there are a lot of people who actually make money off of this with frightening amounts of accuracy. The reason I'm talking about this is that once you get into an area where you think you can actually, find somewhat of an edge, it might be something worth looking into, like the Iran war affair. There's a lot of interesting ways to kind of play these markets. I'm not going to talk about them today because it's a little bit outside of the scope, because we're just kind of doing an overview. My personal favorite are the mentions. Now, some of these here, and I don't see them. You can also do real estate, like home prices. They're piloting that. So basically, the price of homes in the Austin, Texas area will be this on this day. That's a thing. On Kalshi, they're doing. Well, maybe it's not debuted yet, but they're doing luxury watches. Yeah, right here. The bezel ones. The bezel Cartier index, up or down? Up or down? Yes or no? These are interesting as well. There are multiple types of markets that are out here like this. So we're not just talking about sports betting. We're talking about outcomes, events of all kinds being speculated on. And I know that sounds crazy, but there are tons of people who go to Vegas and do prop bets on all kinds of shit all the time, right? Like crazy stuff. Like who's going to get the first technical foul in an NBA basketball game? Who's going to foul out first for so-and-so's team? There are all kinds of prop bets that are taken, and no one really cares about them or really just puts up a stink about it, because you know what you signed up for. When you're not in there just like, oh, I got fleeced into this. No, you're there because you're looking to try and make additional side action. This has been around since the dawn of time, right? This is just a digital form of it on all kinds of different markets. Now, the mentioned markets, I laugh at these. I don't know why people do them, but people do them. For example, this is the Prime Minister of England, Keir Starmer. What will he say at the next Prime Minister's Questions event? Now, this one is difficult because this can be specifically ruled, would be the word I would use, right? And I don't know exactly what it's hard to really know how big of an edge you have here, because it's either going to happen or it's not. There can be disputes, but pretty much I believe when it's finalized, it is what it is. Now, for the majority of these, you have to spend a minimum of $1. And there are people who are doing big dollars when it comes to stuff like this. Let me see if we can see. Yeah, if we look at, let's look at dashboards. Nope, let's go to leaderboards. Guys, these are people making real money on Polymarket. And you can also see this on Kalshi. Let's see. Maybe they're not showing the leaderboards here. Yeah, I don't see a leaderboard here. As simply, then I'm not logged in. That could be the reason why. Unlike, Polymarket's very open about this, and I'm guessing this is going to be, and this is all public, by the way. This is blockchain based, so it's immutable and it's public. Now you can kind of see exactly what they're doing here. These are all the positions they're currently out. Let's look at closed. Looks like they do a lot of football activity. My goodness, I mean, they're putting in big money here. Well, let's look for some of these others. Gator, go Gators! Shout out. Looks like they're also a mainly. I mean, they're up 3.9% on this one, on the Celtics versus the over/under for the Celtics versus the Grizzlies. Interesting. They're also up on Virginia winning the NCAA tournament. Let's see if we can find some interesting, because these are mostly sports. But if there's something, what's interesting are people who don't do sports. Those are the ones that I'm very curious about. Wolfmaster, mostly sports. Is there anyone here who is not? They're mostly sports. Okay, I'm just Ken. Who will Trump nominate as Fed chair? Obviously Kevin Warsh. I said Kevin Hassett during the show. My bad. Kevin Warsh. I keep thinking Hassett. It's Warsh. That doesn't mean it's in stone. That could change, right? But as you can see, people have gotten pretty big wins off of that. How much did he make off of that? He put in 3.5 mil up to 4.2. Now, that doesn't mean that these things can't be manipulated. There's already been issues with people like, there's a market created for, are we going to invade Iran? Or are we going to attack Iran or something like that? And people put in a $400,000 bet like minutes before it happened. Yeah, I mean, there's clearly some issues with some of this. But a lot of the stuff that we find that our strategies are not in all of these things. They're in what we call the quieter markets, where you have the ability to come in, get in early on some markets, those choices. So one thing I will say about these, the number was 339. Let's go for the 24th. We'll see how many he does. The prices for these will rise the moment they become more likely. So if you get in early, you can actually earn before the event actually finishes and sell your actual shares. That's something that a lot of people don't realize. Again, none of this is financial advice. Do your own research, but something I just kind of wanted to mention. So yeah, these are prediction markets. Because of the large, like, for example, the large partnerships that are happening, Polymarket was part of the Golden Globes, guys. They chose 26 of the 28 winners. Through the polling that was going on live during the episode. So you could actually vote during the show. They showed the Polymarket polls and whatnot. That's huge for Polymarket. Kalshi also going to get a lot of shine, especially as we get into the midterms. I'm sure CNN's going to be talking about Kalshi up and down the street. Regardless, it is only a matter of time before these ideas, these sites, whether you're doing them through Polymarket or Kalshi as the big dogs that probably are going to get the most scrutiny or oversight, or the DeFi ones like Limitless, Opinion. Well, Jupiter is technically Polymarket, but Myriad Markets. There's a couple others that are out there that I didn't mention. Predict.fun, I think, is one too. that I hadn't mentioned. There's quite a few that are out there, and there will be more coming as more and more of these things become prevalent. We've been talking about prediction markets for quite some time, you know, in our communities. Just want to talk about it today because, you know, we're at a point where, you know, you could do more, and we will be having some content specifically on that, doing some workshops on prediction markets very soon. So let's kind of go over to, you know, I'd mentioned Hyperliquid with HIP4 is coming out with let's talk about that. Let me get the right HIP4. Oh, you silly guys. Arthur Hayes saying hype could be $150 right here. So the permissionless prediction markets and the 0-day options could be huge. Could be huge. And usage of hype is going to make things better. I can tell you right now, this is, let me go here to these stats. The HIP3 markets, which are the independent builder system perps, have more, and you can't really see them here. Yeah, you can't see them here. Has so much open interest on them with regards to perpetual trades that it's a top 5 DEX on its own. Now, overall, I mean, we're looking cumulatively, they've done 4 trillion in volume. Hyperliquid is not that old of a protocol, guys, or a blockchain. They're originally a Cosmos blockchain, still are, but now they have they have a whole Hyper BFT consensus bridge that now can bolt on Hyper EVM as their EVM facing blockchain alongside of their Hyper Core blockchain, which is I think 100,000 TPS, very fast, very performant in the Cosmos ecosystem. There's still the front door that's available to Hyper Core through Arbitrum. So if you wanted to get onto Hyperliquid Core, you just deposit native USDC into Arbitrum and you are good to go. Now, I've talked about Perp DEXs. We talked about them 2 weeks ago, what they are. Feel free to go back and watch that episode if you don't know much about them. Overall, perps are just derivative assets that are exposure trades to spot assets, generally with some type of leverage. Now, if I go here to Hyperliquid, oh, they do have Amazon here. Actually, we're looking at a HIP3 market. So if we just go to, pardon me, these are just the perps that they have. XYZ means it's a third party. But let's say we just go with hype. If you don't want to own hype, you don't have to. You can just connect here to put in USDC and then use the hype perp and take up to 10x leverage, long or short, to hold this position. Funding rate is right now, well, looks like it's positive. So if you're going to hold a long, you actually have to pay shorts. That's how they keep everything balanced through the funding fees. What we call premium, and it's basically based on whatever the funding rate is. Either it's going to be shorts paying longs to hold a position, or longs paying shorts, and those are done. It depends. I think I need to double check on Hyperliquid. I think theirs is every 8 hours, but some can be as short as every hour. Now, I do want to give a shout out to, you know, one of the originals of this space, which is GMX. As you can see, I mean, we're just looking at the stats. The TVL of, well, current daily volume is in the billions. Let me see if we can get inflows into the billions. Cumulative new users, millions. Doesn't really show me TVL. I can go to DeFi Llama and we can look at that. Although it probably, I'm guessing it's fairly. I'm guessing it's, yeah, that's not correct. 1.793 billion there. We're looking at 200 million and shrinking for TVL for GMX. And GMX was the original perp DEX, along with others like Gains, Synthetics, DYDX. a lot of those have had their lunch eaten, frankly, by Hyperliquid. And Hyperliquid's a very smart team. You have ex-Wall Street guys coming in and creating this system, looking for a better high-frequency, decentralized, permissionless system to do perps. Obviously taking the model of what GMX came out with, what we call real yield, because your yield is based off of fees, providing backstop with liquidity with your funds for the trading floor. So if you were here in these pools, depositing in these pools, you became part of the house. So you were earning off of trader P&L, off of network fees, opening and closing of trades, payment of funding fees on both sides. All of that, I think the number was 70%, went to stakers in these pools. It made GMX a ton of money, right? But times have changed. And I think a little bit of that has to do with just the limited number of perps that they have available. Overall, I mean, there's 3 pages of perps. Let's just say that there's a little bit more than that. Let's just say they have 100 or so perps, just to be fairly optimistic about it. There's hundreds of perps on Hyperliquid now, and others like them. In fact, the HIP3 portion, which gave us the independent perps that are built on top of Hyperliquid core technology, we talked about it on Wednesday. This is a huge deal. Not this one, the other one. Well, markets.xyz has oil. That's very popular because you can take leverage longs and shorts here on oil as a perp. And here's the beauty about perp DEXs, okay? You don't need to go through a financial brokerage office. This is all through self-custody. There's also no safety net, just so you know. That's the other part that's hard for some people. But in a world where, like on October 10th, when all of these order books clogged up and everyone was getting liquidated and market makers pulled out and all that stuff that happened, everything on Hyperliquid worked beautifully because it's all decentralized. It's in a permissionless system. Liquidations did happen, yes, but they happened the correct way, not because everything got clogged up and people just pulled out liquidity and caused that huge crash. So let me go here to trade.xyz, which is one of the third-party HIP markets that's out there. They have this, and this was the big news we talked about on Wednesday. Working with the S&P 500, they have the official perp for the S&P 500. Now, owning this does not mean you actually own a share of the S&P 500. When you're talking about perps, we're talking about derivatives, meaning that they are not the actual spot asset. You're just working with the exposure. And that's fine for a lot of people because the one thing about options is that they have expiration dates and then you have to deal with all of that. Here, with perps and DeFi, there is no expiration date attached to your trade for leverage, whether you're doing a call or a put. And there are other places that do covered calls and stuff like that here in DeFi. But specifically for perps, you have the ability to keep it open as long as you want, which gives a lot of strategies for hedges and delta neutral farming. You do have to pay the funding fee though, depending on which side of where the funding rates are. That's just to help keep the system balanced. But you have that freedom to do this on your own terms without having to go talk to a suit and sign up for an account and hold this much in a margin account. All of that stuff that's in TradFi doesn't exist here. And that's the beauty, that's the freedom, that's how we're beating the banks, by being here with self-custody. Now, there are multiple different perp DEXs out there, right? We just talked about Hyperliquid. What's great about Hyperliquid, and again, you'll need a vacation for this one, pretty much for all of them, if I'm being honest, if you're in the US, is that they do have these vaults. Now they have their HLP, their Hyperliquidity vault, provider vault, not one I'd get into, but they have these user vaults. And what are these really meant for? These are for copy trades. And again, no financial advice given here. It is up to you to figure out what you want to look at. And I'm not recommending or endorsing any of it. However, there's this person here, 547 days on Hyperliquid. A lot of people are in Hyperliquid just trading because they had a fantastic first airdrop and the second airdrop is just as anticipated. As you can see, they have a past month return of 2,100%. If you want to be a part of this vault, you can go and deposit USDC, native USDC, into this. They get to. I think the deal is that they get to use 90% of your liquidity as part of their strategies. So you're essentially just copy trading whatever they're doing. Now they really have nothing going on right now. Yeah, they have these depositors. Oh, okay. So not sure exactly what they're doing, but we can look into one of the others. Black Whale Fleet, newer one. As you can see, the account value. They do have these 3 positions running. There's a 20% BTC short, 20x Sol short, and a 20x ETH short. Leveraged shorts. Very, very degen, right? Based on the shape of the market right now. But look at that P&L. Now, most of my content is not trading focused. I'm not really a big trader. I'm a DeFi guy. I like staking. I like yields. I like liquidity. I like profiting off the behavior of guys like these. So, something to look into if you're looking for, if you don't necessarily have the confidence to come in and just start trading. And again, you'll need USDC bridged over from Arbitrum to get in. I think they may have streamlined that a bit, but pardon me. Hyperliquid's where it's at. Are there others that are out there that are trying to, creep up? Yeah, so there's still GMX, DYDX, synthetics, gains. They're all still around, but they are nowhere near as big as Hyperliquid. Hyperliquid is just the biggest thing out there, and it's going to get bigger. It's a juggernaut. Hype has just been fantastic. If you're on Solana, you can check out Drift.trade. There are some others that are coming out as well in terms of perp DEXs, but Drift, Mango Markets got, unfortunately, they got manipulated into a bad state. But overall, at one point, and I don't know what happened, they started Drift Bet on Drift, which was one of the first prediction markets out there, and was great because you could actually hedge your bets pretty easily because you could buy shares with anything that was on the market. So that was a really good way to hedge your bet, but they kind of stopped that. If you're on BNB chain, you can check out Aster. Aster is probably the biggest competitor right now to 1.09 billion. Look at that. 12.11 million users. There are not 12 million people in DeFi, guys. But they just launched their own privacy-focused chain 2 days ago. You can see that through the Explorer. You can see all of the activity. Look at that, just flying by. But it's meant to be privacy-based. Not really sure what that means, to be honest. But that's these are probably the. I mean, obviously there are more that are out there that are perp DEXs. There's also like Avantis on Base, Avo. You even have some other ones that are like more, DeFi asset focused, like markets.x, not markets, but Whales. Whales.market, like for pre-markets and stuff like that. But the way that everything is moving, guys, if I'm being very honest, the fact that S&P official is on Hyperliquid rails, it's just a matter of time. Now, the New York Stock Exchange is coming out with their own digital trading, trading spot, which will be 24/7, much like all of this has been 24/7 forever, with off-chain oracles. They'll be using the 24/5-day oracle from Chainlink on the New York Stock Exchange, because in general, right, the biggest issue with being on Wall Street is that you're only there from 8:30 to 4:30, 5 days a week. Then you take 2 days off. These markets, 24/7, 365. You're going to stay awake, and then once the U.S. market closes, or just get up early, trade with the EU market. then trade with the U.S. market, then trade with the Asian market. It just kind of keeps going. So there's no real off season, I guess, and that's the really lucrative part about trading on digital markets. Plus, you get instant settlement. There's no T+1 or T+2. That's all a thing of the past. So, yeah, really exciting stuff here. So, anyway, that's all that I really have today. So, if you're looking to get into any of these, they are fairly easy to get into. Specifically with Hyperliquid, you can, when you want to connect, you can connect with a regular wallet, or you can log in with an email, and they'll use Privy to create a wallet for you. And you can fund it through various ways. But this is by far probably the easiest way to do it. If you use wallets like Phantom, MetaMask, Rabby, they have perps built in. So Hyperliquid perps specifically built in. So you don't necessarily have to go to Hyperliquid to get that access. You can just use your official wallet if you want to do that. If you go to Jupiter, Jupiter also has perps. They don't have that many perps. They only have 3. But they have the ability to have links to other prediction markets and whatnot there as well. So if you're looking to not have to go through Polymarket to use Polymarket markets, this is another way you can do it. But if you want to go to Kalshi or Polymarket, I got that message today saying that I can now get in from being a US resident. Probably big. One thing you will have to do if you do this, though, is you're going to have to KYC. You don't necessarily have to KYC if you are on Hyperliquid, which they're coming out with their own outcomes soon. On Jupiter, well, I'm not going to say that. You may have to. You may have to. I don't exactly know, because I haven't tried, to be honest. But you'll have to be taking a VPN vacation in this case. But there are multiple ways, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is because you're going to see this, and I'd rather you be aware of all of the things that are going to be coming on chain or online, and just in the general society within the next 12 to 18 months, maybe sooner, specifically for, because we have the U.S. midterms. If you're here in the U.S. at the end of the year, we're going to see some heating up here, and there is no reason why Kalshi and Polymarket won't want to be serving U.S. residents before that election, because there's going to be a lot of markets being put out. They definitely want to get in before the next batch, because we're getting close to, well, April is going to be the start of baseball season, and they're going to want to be a part of that. And then there's so many more sports that happen in the summer. So effectively, we're going to see more, more politics, more sports, more finance markets, more geopolitics happening in the next 3 to 6 months. So knowing that these are here, knowing that you could, if you wanted to, speculate, maybe make a couple bucks here, or if you are so inclined, there are a lot of people with bots who do this. In fact, the majority of people who are doing this are most likely bots. So probably backed by real people, but don't want to sit here and stare at these things all day, so the bot takes care of it. And that's a whole other topic. But that's available there. Same thing with Perp DEXs. The reason why Perp DEXs are important is because, again, you don't have to worry about going into and signing up for some type of brokerage account. You have access to self-custody. This is your funds. You get to choose what you want to do with these perps. It's not owning them spot. Not yet. We're getting to a point where tokenized stocks are going to be a thing with dividends, but we're not quite there yet. Definitely within the next 12 to 18 months, we will have dividends and other types of shares, stock shares on chain, where if you hold a stock somewhere, you can still get credit for that somewhere on chain, which I think will be the next big unlock for on-chain finance. And that this is where the transition is going to become huge. So anyway, if you liked what you heard, please like and subscribe. We're trying to get as many new followers and users as possible, whether you're watching us on YouTube, on Twitter, on Twitch, even on the Arena. Shout out to everybody at the Arena who's watching live. One of the few places we can go live here in on-chain. Please follow along. Would greatly like to have you. Thank you, babe. My wife just brought me a roller grill. I love gas station food. Don't you? Maybe not. Regardless, if you want to learn more about decentralized finance, check out our free group, Total Value Locked. It is available at school.com/beacon. You can learn more about decentralized finance, about concentrated liquidity, about liquidity plays, staking your money, opening a digital savings account. We have a ton of that for free. This is our Beat the Banks training. We've been doing this every Friday. Not every Friday, but we've been doing this show on Fridays since January of 2022. So we are not new to this space. We have a lot of experience. And our whole goal is to keep you safe and secure. That's always been the mantra, mainly because that's what I want. I want to make DeFi accessible to every person on this planet, because the banking system, the financial system is rigged for the few and not benefiting the many. DeFi changes that, and that's why banks are scared, right? That's why we're having all these issues with the Clarity Act and whatnot, because banks are like, well, if everybody gets stable coins, they're going to take their money out of our banks, and now we're going to be sad. Good. With all due respect to all my friends and family who worked in the banking industry, customers deserve better return on their capital. If I am putting my money into your bank and I'm earning 0.05%, less than 0.1%, and you're taking the majority of that because you're actually taking it and putting out in pools, earning 6% on 2 and 3 day, transaction settlements, those days are over, guys. There's instant settlement with stablecoins available with cross-border, borderless payment systems for free or very little in gas, where I can earn in excess of 6 to 10%. And we deserve that, not you. I'm a little triggered by that today. So anyway, school.com/beacon. Join us there. Join the many who have come through. I will say, if you want to learn more, we do have a lot of free content. Check here on the Start Here post. Click to see more. You'll get a message from myself and our CEO Andrew. You'll learn about our free content as well as our paid content. Shout out to our Beacon Mastermind founding members and current members, as well as our Beacon challengers and our Spotlight subscribers. You guys help make what we do possible, so we thank you so much. We love you guys. And if you want to learn more, sign up. We'd love to help you out there. And you can join our Beacon Mastermind if you want to get one-on-one mentorship, be with the best of the best, be with a bunch of like-minded individuals. We're great to have you there. Like I said, we do this show every Friday. We'll see you next Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern here for Beat the Banks. It's been a pleasure talking about our topics today. If you like what you heard, please tell people all around you. Come and check us out. And we're going to keep going. Take care. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. We say here, beacons up, banks down. Keep beating those banks, guys. Take care. Have a great weekend.